Good afternoon, everyone. We're almost up to date. This is Rhyme of the Times for the week ending the 14th of January 2023. Rishi's prevarication, blue light legislation, Bridgen's aberration, spare agitation. Do you use private health care? Asked Laura. Rishi Sunak did his best to ignore her. But the BBC's Muskundsberg was tenacious and the PM's stonewalling was pertinacious. And he continued to hold out. He wouldn't say. And that was his stance until PMQs on Wednesday. After an NHS-like wait, it came at last. Yes, I've used independent health care in the past. Rishi added that he had no obligation to say private healthcare means private and so it should stay. Opponents, though, reckon Rishi's out of touch if he personally doesn't use the service much, and it tends to send a message of not having trust in the trusts he provides for the rest of us. The other view states that if you've got the loot, by deciding to go down the private route, you are actually helping the NHS out, with its future currently in a state of doubt. And there were more health problems on Tuesday, with another ambulance drivers' strike underway. Meanwhile, the government were upping the ante. Reconciliation, they seem to be anti. The government has started getting nervous that strikes could switch off the blue light service, so they want to introduce legislation to ensure there's always minimum operations. But the unions and Labour think the Tories are seeking a means to have workers' rights further weakened. Also vaguely on the topic of health, we have yet another MP making a baffling gaffe. The Commons banned the outcome for Andrew Bridgen. His facts about vaccines had no true origin. Suspension from the Tory party, another personal cost for comparing COVID vaccines to the Holocaust. Midnight Tuesday, Prince Harry's book hit the stores. The official opening up of family soars. 400,000 spare copies on the first day sold, a British record for non-fiction, we are told. The royals may question that categorisation. Fiction to cause friction may be their interpretation. We don't know for sure. The palace has stayed tight-lipped about the book that has much of the nation gripped. No silence from the Prince Harry camp, though. For 2 days he seemed to be on every talk show. TV hosts quizzed him both sides of the pond, viewers desperate to hear how he'd respond. Good work by the publisher's marketing team, and for the TV channels, Harry was also a dream. Talk about spilling the beans to make us listen. This was throwing your dinner all over the kitchen, opening up his heart or bordering on perjury. For some it was as entertaining as open heart surgery. Some say he's also not done much for the safety of his family with his musings on war. During 2 tours in Afghanistan, colleagues thought he was a bit of a talisman, but in this memoir he's become a tally man, recording that he killed 25 Taliban. By dehumanising them, this detail he stored, like they were pieces taken from a chessboard. Although he said he didn't intend to boast, that seemed to be how it was received by most. Certainly the Taliban didn't pass up the chance to take the moral high ground and a victim's stance. And Harry may have put a target on his back and given an excuse for the extremists to attack his family, his regiment, the whole British Army. Veterans say his actions are completely balmy. He said the press had taken his words out of context. Many who read the book said, "Whatever next?" He seemed sincere and emotionally racked when he said, "I want my father and brother back." Well, Harry, with the tales in this hardback you've told, it may be hard to get back into the family fold. On Tuesday we heard of a rare Russian gain. The town of Soledar in eastern Ukraine had been taken back after weeks of fighting. Casualties on both sides had been frightening. Interestingly, this small but costly win initially wasn't mentioned by the Kremlin. It was a battle won mainly by mercenary troops, a bunch of ex-cons called the Wagner Group. Perhaps Putin didn't want to admit that his regular army made a pig's ear of it. And it seems he's bored of eastern Ukraine, because on Saturday he bombed the whole country again. Sadly, 2 British aid volunteers had disappeared, and on Wednesday news came that we all had feared. The Wagner Group claimed that they had found a British man's body lying on the battleground. We don't know the identity of the man. Andrew Bagshaw and Chris Parry were last seen 6th of Jan. And another grim story of a Brit abroad. Ali Reza Akbari suffered Iran's interpretation of law. He was hanged on spying charges in a Tehran jail after last-minute diplomacy from Britain failed. The dual national came to Britain in 2009. He was invited back to Iran and thought all was fine, having previously served as a minister in the regime. But this execution had a familiar theme, a political murder aimed at the West. Suspect means used to get the suspect to confess. For Sunak's government, a diplomatic test.